as the hostages exchanged glances, some nervous, some calculating, some already jaded beyond repair. The lights overhead buzzed and flickered with fresh intensity, casting the deli into a strobing netherworld of orange and black. Jenny watched the storm outside, watched the rain hammer the windows in pulses that matched the heartbeat thud in her own chest. She looked around the table, Edna furiously tallying, Chaz checking his metrics, Eddie quietly plotting, Terry already rehearsing his next line, Roy half mad with anticipation. The cup sat in the center of it all, glistening with sweat and something darker. The next round waited, and somewhere behind the deli, Jenny imagined the ham rooting for her too. The next round started with Edna Brewster, because she demanded it. She stood, knees locked, spine at maximum rigidity, and slammed her hands on the deli counter with the force of a one-woman HOA hearing. The roller bowed his head in theatrical deference and handed her the dice cup. Edna shook the cup 3 times. Exactly 3. Her face did not move except for the tick in her left cheek, which pulsed to the offbeat flicker of the generator. She rolled with the precision of a casino pit boss, letting the dice spill out in a measured arc. Jenny watched as one of them, a blue 6-sider, hit the slick plastic and bounced, then kept bouncing. For a heartbeat, it hovered a full half-inch above the surface, spinning in the air as if suspended by wires. Edna blinked, and the die dropped with a clack so sharp it drew blood from the moment. She immediately wrote down her result: 2, 4, 4, 4, 6, then reached into her purse and dusted her fingers off with a travel packet of Purell.
Didn't see that,
she muttered. She circled the 4 on her scorecard 3 times, as if by force of will alone she could break the laws of probability. Jenny looked at the roller. He was stock still, head cocked to the side like a dog listening to an ultrasonic whistle. He was smiling, but only in the way a hunting animal smiles. Teeth first, eyes hungry. Chaz was next.
"Hey, what's up, followers? It's your boy Chaz,"
he announced, not even waiting for permission.
"Being held hostage might die, but let's keep it 100. I still got better hair than my captor."
He put the dice cup on the counter and adjusted his ring light to full intensity.
"Gotta get that authentic stress glow, you feel?"
He shook the cup once, twice, then held it at arm's length while grinning at the camera.
"This one's for the algorithm, baby."
He let the dice tumble, filmed the result, and instantly forgot what it was. Jenny, who had a front row seat to his phone screen, saw it glitch at the exact second the dice landed. A blocky, high-contrast Yahtzee splashed across his display, followed by a hard crash to static. The light stuttered. For a full 2 seconds, Chaz's face was replaced by a perfect black and white skull. Chaz blinked, shook his phone, and muttered,
"That's not a filter."
He marked his score, didn't bother to add it up, and rechecked his follower count.
"Yo, did anyone else see that?"
he asked, but nobody cared. Eddie's turn came. The kid was gray at the lips, sweat slicking his hair to his forehead in a way Jenny found both tragic and infuriating. She tried to catch his eye, to communicate something like, "Don't crack up, I need you sane." But he wouldn't look at her. He took the dice cup with shaking hands. He said nothing, just rolled, soft and slow. The dice hit the counter and arranged themselves again in a near-perfect pentagon. Jenny was no mathlete, but even she could see the geometry was off. For a second, the numbers faced inwards, like eyes at the bottom of a well. Then, one after another, the dice twitched and rotated, snapping into a straight line that read 1, 1, 1, 1, 4. Eddie stared at the pattern. He wrote it down, then drew a tiny circle around the 4. He looked up at the roller, and the roller looked back. And in that weird parent-teacher conference moment, Jenny could tell both of them had seen something neither wanted to explain. Terry the podcaster went next. He narrates everything as he does it, holding the cup close to his mouth, like it's a microphone, which is frankly what Jenny suspected he wanted in the first place.
The tension in the room is tangible,
He whispered, voice just north of ASMR.
We've entered hour 2 of the event, and participants are showing early signs of psychological fracture. My own hands are oddly not shaking. The dice cup is unnaturally warm, perhaps evidence of a chemical reaction, or maybe the ambient heat from our captor's mania.
Just roll the dice,
said Edna, not looking up from her chalkboard of doom. Terry did. The dice skittered, rolled, and came to rest in a way that seemed suspiciously staged. 3, 3, 3, 3, 6. He leaned forward, eyes wide, and whispered,
Interesting. Statistically improbable, but not impossible. I'll have to check the numbers on that.
The roller nodded, a short, violent jerk.
The cup knows,
He said. Roy went next. He hadn't stopped tapping on his phone the entire time, his thumbs moving in a blur as if inputting some kind of secret code. Jenny suspected he was either documenting everything for Reddit or live streaming to the only 3 people on Earth who cared about Florida grocery store conspiracies. He took the cup, rolled, and never took his eyes off his phone as the dice fell. They landed in a scatter. 6, 6, 1, 2, 5. He set the cup down, immediately tried to scan the results with his phone, and frowned.
Weird. The camera's not picking up the dice. They're just gone.
Jenny looked. He wasn't wrong. The phone's camera showed only a blank countertop where the dice should be. Roy hit the table with the heel of his palm, then looked up at the roller.
You're jamming us. That's like a federal offense, bro.
The roller didn't answer. He was busy recording the results in his own, much thicker ledger, where every roll was logged in a script that looked part Roman numeral, part cuneiform. Jenny took her turn last, because someone had to clean up after everyone else's mess. She stood, weighed the dice cup in her hand, and realized it really was too warm. Not just body heat, but something feverish and alive. She looked the roller dead in the eyes, and he mouthed, "Anchor." She rolled her eyes. The dice sprayed everywhere, ricocheting off chairs, counters, and the occasional ankle. One rolled under the freezer door and vanished. The rest bounced in an unnatural way, as if the laws of physics had been replaced with something designed by a bored child. They came to rest as follows: 5, 5, 5, 5, 2. Jenny didn't react. She just wrote it down, then picked up the sandwich she'd left on the counter.
Does the cup care about carbs?
She asked, taking a bite. The roller shivered with excitement.
4 of a kind, so close. The cup is almost ready. One more round, I think.
He reset the scorecards, shuffling them around the circle, then stared at the lights overhead until his own shadow merged with the storm outside. The world beyond the glass doors was pitch dark, save for the occasional lightning strike. But inside, it was bright enough to feel like an open grave. Jenny glanced at the others. Edna was tallying a running list of grievances. Chaz was live streaming again. But now every word came with a 2-second echo, like someone was playing him back in real-time delay. Eddie was staring at the dice with the focus of a kid waiting for a bus that never came. Terry was describing the scene for his future listeners, adding ominous music cue at every pause. And Roy had given up on the phone and was now building a crude antenna from a straw and a twist tie. The next set of rolls went faster. Edna. 3, 3, 3, 6, 6. She snorted, drew another X on her sheet and crossed her arms. Chaz.
Hey, followers. I think the universe just bugged out.
He rolled, the dice clattering and landing. Then, without any visible prompt, every die flipped itself to show a different number, like synchronized swimmers. Chaz's phone vibrated, then died. Eddie. This time, the dice landed stacked, one atop the other, a tower of improbability that shouldn't have stayed upright but did. He wrote down the numbers, then circled the column, and stared at the roller. The roller stared back, eyes wet with joy. Terry.
This is it, folks. The moment we've all been waiting for.
He rolled, and the dice seemed to slow in midair, hang suspended, then fall as if gravity itself was a rumor. They landed 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. The roller gasped. The hostages gasped. Jenny, for the first time, felt her hands sweat. Nothing happened. The hostages looked at the roller, who gave an impassive shrug.
The holy number must not be 5.
Roy, seeing the trend, rolled with both hands and tried to get it over with. The dice all landed off the table, pinging around the floor before stopping dead in a perfect, impossible line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He looked at Jenny and mouthed, "Told you, the odds are cooked." Jenny stood, readied the cup, and said,
Let's finish this, okay?
She rolled. This time the dice came to rest in a single neat cluster. 4, 4, 4, 4, 1. The roller let out a high, keening sound that cut straight through the thunder. He swept the dice off the counter, reset the cup, and started pacing the circle, whispering to himself.
It's ready,
He said.
We're ready. You're ready. One final roll, and then it ends. Again.
Jenny wanted to ask what, exactly, would end. Instead, she looked around the room, saw the nervous faces, the hunched shoulders, the weird, growing evidence that reality was only pretending to hold together. She set her sandwich down, squared her shoulders, and rolled the cup. All 5 dice hit the counter, bounced, then spun in place for a full 5 seconds. The lights overhead dimmed. Every eye in the room locked on the cup. The dice landed. 6, 6, 6, 6, 1. By 9:14 the next morning, the Friendly Mart Deli had devolved from a scene of last night's horror to the breakfast nook in a cut-rate apocalypse sitcom. The air was no longer electric with threat. It was thick with stale sandwich stink and the sour ozone of people who had stopped caring about hygiene somewhere between the 5th and 6th blackout. Jenny Marquez, who had not slept but had eaten 3/4 of a turkey sub and a family pack of Hostess donuts, surveyed the aftermath with all the reverence of a garbage man eyeing roadkill. She sat atop the deli counter, knees drawn up, chewing the end of a pencil that had once belonged to Edna Brewster. Below her, the hostages had achieved a kind of uneasy armistice, like the most disappointing cast of Survivor ever assembled. Chad had built a phone charging station out of the hand dryer and an extension cord scavenged from the cake decorating aisle. He took selfies in front of the barricaded doors every hour, shirtless, while flexing and hashtagging imprisoned and deli life, like it was just another day at the gym. Roy, who had clearly hit the sleep deprivation singularity, was muttering to himself in a corner surrounded by napkins, each covered with an obsessive lattice of hand-drawn dice patterns and hurricane radar scribbles. Occasionally he would bolt upright, shuffle the papers like tarot cards, and gasp something like, "It's converging, man. It's converging." Edna was in her element. She had discovered a box of sidewalk chalk in the seasonal aisle and now stalked the perimeter, slashing boundary lines on linoleum and glass with the concentration of a retired civil engineer. The deli had been subdivided into safe zones, neutral meeting areas, and violation sectors. She barked orders to anyone who crossed a line, her voice sharpening each time the chalk dusted off her slacks. Terry the podcaster, eyes shadowed and shirt untucked, was recording what Jenny assumed was either a confession or an oral history, for whatever subculture cared about the world's most boring standoff. He had found a way to wire his phone mic to an empty soda can for maximum acoustics, and was now perched beneath the cheese mural, whispering things like, Hour 17, group cohesion phrase as time loses all meaning. The line between captor and captive is blurring. The roller had spent most of the night in his self-declared throne behind the deli counter, feet up on a case of lunch meat, dice cup in hand. He had not spoken since sunrise, but watched everything with eyes gone glassy and red. His silence did not inspire hope. It was more like the eye of a tornado, and everyone in the room knew the violence was not over. The TVs mounted above the deli flickered to life every so often, defaulting to the local news. Jenny watched as a pretty anchor woman, smile strained by the hour, delivered an update with the headline, Friendly Mart Hostage Crisis. Dice Rituals Continue. Below, a ticker read, Authorities urge calm. Dice-related incidents are rare but not unprecedented in Florida. The B-roll was grainy night vision footage of the store, punctuated by shots of cop cars, news vans, and at least one guy in a Bigfoot suit waving a "Don't roll for our freedom" sign at the police barricade. Jenny felt the pencil bend between her teeth and spat out a wood splinter. She flicked it at Roy, who was currently building a three-dimensional dice pyramid out of toothpicks and deli olives.
Hey, if you're gonna architect your way out of here, maybe aim for a window.
Roy glanced up, eyes bloodshot and enormous.
No, that's not how it works. You have to align the pips. That's the pattern they're watching for. The cup-like sequences. If we get 5 6s in a row...
He trailed off, either in awe or terror. Jenny rolled her eyes, which had not closed in 30 hours.
Great, so all we have to do is break probability and we get a door prize.
On the TV, the anchor transitioned to a human interest piece about a guy who survived being locked in a tanning salon for 3 days. Jenny found herself rooting for the UV burns. She hopped down from the counter, glancing at the glass entrance where sunlight attempted, and failed, to penetrate the hurricane boards and police tape. The outside world had receded to an afterthought. Nothing existed beyond the deli, the storm, and the suffocating pressure of expectation. Edna, in a fit of territorial zeal, scraped a fresh line around the donut display.
That's the violation boundary.
She announced to the room.
Anyone caught within 3 feet of the hostages gets a citation, even if it's another hostage. And don't even think about erasing my lines. Those are city code now.
Chad, who was live streaming from behind the register, looked up with genuine confusion.
That doesn't make any sense, bro.
Edna pointed at the counter.
I've got my eye on you, troublemaker.
Chad shrugged and focused on his phone. Lips pursed as he angled for the perfect smolder.
What's up, squad? We're on day 2 of the hashtag Yahtzee apocalypse, and things are getting lit. I just want to say to everyone watching, Mom, don't worry, I'm fine. And I got more followers now than when I started.
He winked at the camera, then flexed his bicep and kissed it. Jenny considered using the deli slicer on him, just to see if the internet would care. A sound from the far end of the deli drew everyone's attention. The roller, who had spent hours in a trance, was now standing. He stretched, vertebrae popping, then shuffled to the edge of his violation zone and surveyed the hostages with the slow, predatory interest of a vulture watching a marathon. No one dared speak, but the tension was enough to drown out the whirring of the overhead fans. Terry the podcaster broke first. Because of course he did.
Do you feel it?
He whispered, eyes darting.
The cup is getting hungrier. The boundaries are thinner. I'm picking up anomalies.
He gestured to his phone, which now displayed a waveform that, to Jenny's eye, looked exactly like a normal audio recording.
Listen, the hum is getting louder. It's not electricity, it's the cup.
Jenny sighed.
It's probably the fridge compressor, or maybe the universe is just tired of your voice.
Terry ignored her and started a new segment for his audience.
Hour 18, and the power dynamics have shifted. Even as law enforcement mobilizes outside, inside, we're seeing a total breakdown of.
Roy snapped his fingers, interrupting.
Jenny, come here, look at this.
He gestured at the pile of napkins and, for emphasis, his phone screen. Jenny trudged over, arms crossed.
If it's more Bigfoot porn, I'm blocking your number.
No, it's better.
Roy held out a napkin where he'd mapped out 5 concentric pentagons, each dotted with tiny 6s. Next to it, his phone displayed a time-lapse of the local radar.
See how the storm is spiraling? It's a 5-arm spiral, just like the dice pattern. Every time the cup rolls, the cloud bands shift. Look, here and here. It's like cause and effect.
Jenny squinted. She had to admit the resemblance was freaky.
So, the weather is playing Yahtzee with us?
Roy nodded, wild with excitement.
And it's not just here. Look at Discord.
He flicked to a forum thread filled with screenshots. Glowing dice, identical spirals on radar, stories from Tampa, Orlando, Miami.
It's everywhere. Every grocery store that gets a blackout and a weird dice guy. It's like the cup is, I don't know, syncing us up for something.
Jenny absorbed this. Then she glanced up at the roller, who watched her with the smug serenity of a man who had been right all along. She turned to the group and clapped her hands.
Okay, here's the plan. We're not waiting for Cosmic Bingo to punch our ticket. If anyone has ideas, now's the time to spit them out.
Edna, who had not stopped chalking for even a moment, grunted.
The only plan is order. We roll, we keep records, and nobody breaks the turn sequence. If you do, you get a violation, and after 3...
She tapped the eraser menacingly.
It's the walk of shame to the back freezer?
Chad raised a hand.
Can we vote Edna off the island?
No.
Edna replied.
But if you cross into my personal zone again, I will vote you off the island.
Terry, now emboldened by his self-appointed role, said,
I move we designate a media liaison for the historical record.
Roy snorted.
Dude, nobody's gonna want to remember this.
Jenny watched the dynamic, recognizing the old retail pecking order in action. Even in the midst of dice-worshipping apocalypse, people sorted themselves into the same cliques they'd always known. Outside, the sky darkened further, thunder rolling with a sense of finality. The news ticker on the deli TV updated. Negotiators continue dialogue. Suspect refuses all contact. Psychic hotline consulted for additional support. Jenny couldn't tell if this was real or a hallucination brought on by exhaustion and sodium. Either way, it was peak Florida. She looked at the cup. It sat alone on the table, the dice inside occasionally rattling even when nobody touched it. It felt like the only thing awake in the entire universe.
Hey, roller,
She said, pitching her voice to Carrie.
you got any new rules, or is this just torture by boredom?
He regarded her for a long moment.
The rules are the same,
He said.
but the game isn't.
That shut everyone up. The cup trembled. Jenny wiped her hands on her apron, squared her shoulders, and stepped into Edna's violation zone.
Let's get this over with. Who's rolling first?
The group, for once, had no answer. Outside, the sirens wailed. Inside, the cup rolled, the dice pips staring up at them like tiny, unblinking eyes. The world did not end, but it didn't restart either. They were suspended, one roll at a time, waiting for the next pattern to emerge. Jenny looked at her sandwich, now dry and curling at the edges, and made a promise to herself. If she ever got out of this, she was switching to salads. At least the lettuce couldn't stare back.